Today, I want to start talking about a low maintenance garden. How in the world do you get a low maintenance garden? Now, there's lots of different ways, but what it makes me think about is permaculture, because in permaculture, anything goes. Your creativity has to be to the max. I guess it doesn't have to be, but you really want to get creative and you really want to learn about the plants that you're using and the soil and how everything works together, because you're trying to get like the max out of everything and optimize everything's beauty and optimize everything's growing ability and ability to enhance other plants and the soil and everything else, and get nature working to its fullest while putting in the least amount of work. That's really what it's all about. And if you think about it, that's what happens in nature. Like, we don't go out there and tell the wild trees and plants what to do. We don't water them or do whatever, but like, they just do it. And so that's really what happens with permaculture. Is we're trying to achieve that. That's the goal. So it's like the ultimate low maintenance garden. In this situation, this is what I started with. And I guess you could kind of see it underneath. There's absolutely nothing. It's dead or completely absent grass underneath all of this. And so in phase one, I want to lay in the structure and I want to account for the big outside influences. So in my case, that's the sun. We get tons of sunlight in Phoenix, and it's the wind. So I need to make sure that these trees that I'm planting are going to be able to block the wind. They're going to act as windbreaks, but they're also going to be able to provide shade. So I want some big trees, but I live in a homeowners association. And so I can't have crazy big trees. And plus, I really don't trust really big trees over right next to my house. I love the big trees, but not that close. So I specifically looked for native trees that could be good pioneer trees, which are, able to get into this ground, make themselves feel at home, and they know how to get in and find the resources, right? I don't have to go and help them and feed them too much or water them too much for them to feel at home. Now, you can also tell I've got some paths laid in because I want to make sure that I've got places to walk around. The other thing that I'm trying to do is make sure that I've got good drainage. Now, when I bought this house, it's actually a little townhome. It had a major drainage problem, and I've just been starting to work on it this year. And what would happen is there's this little strip of land along the side that would flood. There's no rain gutters, and so the water would just come and fill this side of the house up right here, and it would all go towards the front, which guess what's there? That's my garage. So it would flood my garage every time that we would get a major rain. I had to go and get those almost like sandbags so that I could sandbag in my garage and so it wouldn't flood. That's how bad it was. Now, what I've done since then is put in a cement path with grading going away from the garage. So this is just to kind of continue that process. But if you notice, I need somewhere for the water to go. So I need to do some sort of French drain or something in this area. And I just made pathways, and I'll tell you, just this path right here got partially dug out because it rained and this area right in here flooded. So good news, my drainage worked. Bad news, I had a pond. And I needed somewhere for the water to go. So we came and we dug a partial, we partially dug this out. We did dig the trench, and we had to make sure that we dug deep enough for the water to flow out. The problem was all the sweet potatoes are growing right here, and they were taking over the area. So it was really hard to fully dig this full trench out. Back in this area, I found out one of the problems is I actually have a lot of clay there, which is not what the soil survey said I had. It said I had like sand everywhere, but that was not true. This back in here was all clay, and then as soon as we got the water out here, it drained and it watered our plants. My plants got a really good soaking underground and they loved it, and then they just grew and took off even more. So it's really important to make sure you have these kind of big picture stuff that's not immediately coming from within your yard or your farm taken care of and taken into account. And so that's what this first phase is all about. It's about planning for your paths and your drainage, your sunlight and your wind, all of those things, and really getting them situated. Where do you want them to be? Where do they need to be? And that's going to be your first layer to lay down in any kind of planning. So if you've got a big farm, you know, maybe this is 10 acres and you need a windrow over here because the wind comes from this direction. Now there are windroses that you can get online for your location that'll tell you what is the predominant wind direction, and you know, maybe your wind direction changes throughout the year. So you really want to take a look at different times of the year to say, okay, maybe during the spring, I really need some protection over here, but in the fall, it comes from the southwest direction. Whatever your situation is, you want to make sure that you're accounting for that on your land. Now, if you just got a tiny balcony or whatever you have, a small backyard like me, I happen to know that it's right here, right? This is where my wind comes across this way, coming from the southwest. You're going to want to make sure there's a nice big tree, or maybe some blackberries or something right there that can grow tall for you, that can help block that wind and become a windbreak. You don't need to be extravagant. You don't need tons of plants. If you've just got a small little yard or a little balcony that you're growing on, but just something to block the wind. So I hope this was helpful to you. This is the first phase. I hope that you can take this and be able to look at what you've got, take some Google Maps snapshots or Google Earth, however you want to do it, and start drawing out your plan. What does that look like? Getting that information. I'll put some links down below for you to start taking a look and figuring it out. And then I'll talk more about it and what the next phase is in the next video.